I just want to print out the next print that I've done in the similar way that I showed you in the previous video. And it is this little house of Creighton. And I've marked it 30 by 40 because that's the size of my canvas. And I'm going to print it out in black and white. So I'm just right clicking on it and then go to the print option. And when it comes up here, I want to print it a little bit smaller so that I can actually show you how it works. Remember to unclick this picture to frame to keep it in the same format as the canvas. Otherwise, it's not going to be the same format and it will not fit onto your canvas properly. Okay, I'm going to do a standard print, but I also want to do it in black and white. Then I've got less things to distract me from the drawing. All right, I'm quickly going to print that. And when the printing is now done, this is my preview, remember? And it looks just fine. Everything is in, and I'm just going to click start printing, and it will print. I will cut it out in the meantime, and then I will show you on my other camera how we use the proportional divider to actually transfer and enlarge the photograph onto your painting. I've often been asked to explain how a proportional divider works at workshops, so I'm going to show you the way I use it. Now remember, we printed this out in the same format as the canvas. Now the canvas is 30 centimeter by 40 centimeter, and the ratio of this print is also 3 by 4. So it's exact same ratio. Now I've made the lines a lot darker than I would normally do, but it's just to show up on the video so that you can see properly. Okay, so I normally print it out in black and white, so I don't have to worry about color. And this is just to get the proportions onto the canvas. This is not to put in every branch and every little detail that there's on the photograph. Definitely not. So it's just to get the house in the right spot and also in the right proportions. So the first thing I do is just to divide my picture into blocks. And for me, the easiest way is not to measure it, but to go definitely from the one end to the other end and diagonally put the lines in. And then I use a triangle like this one to make sure that I've got a right angle of 90 degrees, and then that will be my halfway mark. And again, if you want to have the halfway mark of that one, you keep on dividing it into these triangles. So the more complicated it is, the more little triangles I will put on. Okay, because then I can work within that little triangle there. But for now, I just want the house and the proportions of the house and maybe the size of the tree. So sometimes I will even simplify it by even doing something like that so that I can just get it a little bit more clear as to what I want to draw. Because I definitely don't want to draw everything. I want the size of that, and I want the size of that, and the position of that, and say the position of that. I want the horizon line in, and I might want the outline of that tree in if I'm not going to change it. Maybe want that little mountain in there, and maybe that little bit there. Okay, so I would even go as far as to put in some of the interesting shapes of the grass that is darker, things like that when I draw. Okay, and then obviously the bottom of the house is quite important. And when I work on my underpainting, I will then work from these proportions that I've put on here. Later on, you won't even need it. Now, the pencils that I normally use are pastel pencils because they have got pigment in, so they will just work with your oils or your acrylics, whatever you're going to use. and I will do the exact same thing with my canvas. So I will then also connect the two corners there, and that corner to that corner, so I have the halfway mark. And I can check this because with a little triangle like that you can easily get that wrong, just to make sure that it is in fact correct. So I will check it with my ruler just to make sure that they are more or less equal. All right, well, I'm not busy with a portrait, so I'm not so concerned about being that accurate. Now when you get to a proportional divider, and I've got a few here, I'm actually going to show you with both of these. This one is just a homemade one, but the increments in between is a little bit smaller than that one. So the jump between the enlargements are not as big as the jumps in between here, because sometimes you'll find that it just does not fit properly. I also mark the part that is going on the photograph, and that one is for the canvas, so that I don't get confused while I'm working. So if you look at these dots over here, they are close to the point here. So that is the photographs part, and this part will be the enlargement. It's actually quite easy to see that if you look at it. So if you look at that, you can see that that is the amount that it will enlarge it to. Okay, so this one I've already set correctly. So let's look at this one now. Okay, this one is now, it's got its screw here right in the middle, and that means that the enlargement will be very similar, just a little bit larger. Okay, so say if I take that one there, you can see it is just a little bit larger. Let me show you like this. You can see it's slightly larger than the original. So if you look at that, you can see that's the photograph and that's the enlargement. Okay, so obviously this is just a very small enlargement. So, and as I put them up in this thing, let me just put it up, I unscrew it, and when you buy this in the beginning, it takes a while to work it in, to actually prime it, if I can put it like that. Now I've done the yellow part for my canvas and the blue part for my actual photograph. So I'm going to see, and all I want to do is to take one of those blocks and see how close can I get to this block to get it the same. So your aim is to get the blocks as close as possible to the same blocks, because then you know you are more accurate. So I have to move it up until I am very close to the right one. Okay, just want to show you. So I move it up a little bit just to see, and I make sure that those points are still together, and just check when you do that it is as close as possible to that size. Then I know that this is the correct size for the enlargement. Okay, so now what I do, and it's just a trick that I've a tip, actually not a trick, a tip that I have for you is to actually just count from that point on how many circles there are. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's in the 5th position. So I will write down here the 5th position from the smallest to the biggest. So I just know that's the smallest bit. And I also write down it's my Derwent one, because I've got a lot of different scale dividers or proportional dividers. So I need to know which one did I take. Like for instance, this one is also being scaled to in proportion. So if I look at that there, it is very close. Is it? Let me just see. It's not close enough. Yeah, it is very close to to that mark there. If it does not fit, you can, it is because these jumps in between is too big or too little, you know. So that could, it's normally too big. The jumps in between are too big. So then you have to decide, okay, it's more important to get this into scale, and it can be a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger. It's not going to matter that much. Because as I said, we're not busy with a portrait, so it doesn't have to be that precise. And you get ones at some of the shops that are metal and are really a lot more accurate and got smaller jumps in between. Okay, again, when I look at this, I just turn it around and I will again mark it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's in the 8th position in this one. So I'm not going to use both. I'm just going to use one of them. But if I was using this one, I would say it's the wooden one. And I know which one that will be because it's my homemade wooden one. Okay, so let's just start. And it's just to get the position of the house. So working from the middle, I'm just going to say, I'm going to measure the distance there. Just to put in, now my space here is a bit limited. So I'm just going to put in the height of the actual roof. Now again, you've got those crossbars over there. I'm just going to make sure that, so I just connect those, and that is how you actually then put it in. Okay, let me just put that one there. Right, on that line there. And I know now that one is going up there and that one. If you want to make sure this is correct, then you can actually measure that little bit there. You can see the points are not accurate, but it's accurate enough to work with. Okay, so you can see that it's accurate enough. It's just to get that position. Okay, again, I want the end of this over here, and I go back there. And now I want the length of the actual roof over there. And now I know when I connect that, that is actually the length of the roof and also the angle of the roof. And I'm just going to put in the sidelines of this as well, just to make sure where it ends. So you can see this is a lot more at an angle. So I thought I had it right, but it wasn't. Okay, so let's just make sure that this one is correct. Over there. And I rather trust my judgment, my measuring, than my own judgment. I must rather say that. Measure it, and you'll see then it's the correct size. I'm just going to make sure that that is over there. So it's more or less going to be like that, where it ends. And I'm just going to measure that little bit there. My space that I'm working in is very small because of the video that I'm working with. And then I can see it goes at a slight angle there. All right. Now with everything that I measure, I just keep on doing that. Sorry, that's my daughter. Just walking through. Okay. So now I've at least got the size. I just want to make sure you can see it is not accurate for very small sizes, small measurements, but it's close enough. Okay, So that's how I do that. Let me just put in the a part of the tree as well, and also a part of this, because I think this is quite important where the horizon line is. So I don't want to take up too much of your time. I will do a proper video of this and put it on my YouTube channel for you to watch if you want to. And I'm just going to make sure that from there to there, that one is correct over there. All right, then I can also see more or less where that one is. The halfway mark over here. Let me just put that line in. The halfway mark is over there. Then I can see that it's easier for me now to put in more or less. I'm still going to do this into an underpainting, which I will also video and then show how that works. So you can see it's a lot easier by doing that. A lot easier. Let me just see the end of the house here. Until it's just past that there. Okay, so the house goes up to here with the stoop and that little bit over there. Just want to see the height of that, more or less. All right, and I can connect those little bits there, and then I can go back and see where that line is there, over there. And I think what I'll do is I'll do this off camera so that I can show you afterwards what it looks like. Okay, I think that's enough for now, and I'll show you what it looks like afterwards.